Hey everybody, welcome to Winsight Live. Before I kick it over to the supermarket guru, Phil Lempert, up on Winsight Grocery Business this morning, we've got a trade exclusive. The Amazon Fresh store in Woodland Hills, which opened to invited guests about 3 weeks ago, is open to everybody today. Headline that I saw coming out of that was the publishing of its first sales flyer advertising bananas at 15 cents each. That's gotta be a message to Trader Joe's, which has become kind of famous for the 19-cent banana. In addition to some other pretty good everyday low prices, there's 89 cents for fresh baked French bread loaves and 4.97 for rotisserie chickens. I've said this before, and you'll hear it again. One store isn't going to make any difference at all in the grocery industry, but Amazon is coming into the physical grocery space with advantages that no other new competitor has ever had. They've got 2 decades of e-commerce experience and the data that brings. They've got an unlimited amount of money, it seems, to support things like price wars on the ground. And of course, they have 100 million paid loyalty members, which is sort of would be the envy of any grocery operator. So it's interesting to watch. Like I said, one store I spoke to the great Neil Stern of McMillan Doolittle in the article. Neil says, whatever you've heard about any number of stores that they're going to build, it's probably going to be 10 times as many as that. That all seems pretty reasonable now. And so today starts a brand new era.
It does, John. And what's interesting to me, and shame on me because I'm only about 10 miles away from the store. I have not gotten there yet. It's because we're doing our RDBA virtual experience next week. So I've been slammed, but I will get there. I will get pictures. I will talk to people and share it right here and on Winsight Grocery Business. I want to go back to the banana thing. It's curious to me, both for Trader Joe's and Amazon and Save a Lot. Save a Lot, we're doing bananas at 10 cents. What is it with this draw for people with bananas, the price of bananas being this draw? I mean, it used to be the price of milk would get people in stores. Now it's the price of bananas.
It's always been milk, bananas, bread, and a couple of other, what they call KVIs in the industry, right? That people will compete on. The interesting thing with bananas is that, there's an efficiency thing that is associated with the pricing strategy at Trader Joe's, right? They don't want to go through the trouble of weighing things and selling things by weight. So each bananas makes sense. And like I said, it's not necessarily the price leadership at Trader Joe's, but it's sort of the association. People know Trader Joe's is the 19-cent banana place. And, just here's a way. I think that was, particularly provocative, even if it doesn't kind of set the world on fire in terms of like who's going to lose the most money on bananas when they sell them.
It makes a
all
great
retailers are competitive on bananas.
Yeah, it makes a great circular. So I want to share something that I've been doing over the past 2 weeks for 6 days, last Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and this Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, with U.S. Farmers and Ranchers in Action. We've actually had our first virtual Honor the Harvest Forum. Last year at this time, it was on a farm in Maryland. 200 leaders, including the past 3 secretaries of agriculture, were there. And in fact, I want to read you something that Tom Vilsack had said at this one. The potential to sequester large amounts of carbon presents a tremendous economic opportunity that can be spread to farmland across the country. Every farm, every acre, every voice matters. Also, another great quote from Barb O'Brien, who's president of DMI, Dairy Management. The bold future forward work that American agriculture is undertaking today is essential as we drive scaled adoption of healthier food systems. Partnerships are fundamental to how we fulfill our vision. The reason that I'm sharing this is I want every retailer to understand that farmers and workers, because of the pandemic, because of COVID-19, have really made commitments to work together, to communicate, to eradicate hunger. That came up in this year's sessions as a prime objective. Also, transparency. that they really understand that what happened with COVID-19 scared a lot of consumers, scared a lot of retailers, and these farmers and ranchers want to work much more closer with retailers than ever before. As we've talked about, we saw that happen with Publix and a couple other retailers. Also, a good friend, Jason Clay from World Wildlife Fund, is there. We had about 200 people virtually that all came together every day. He's been on a listening tour, a COVID-19 listening tour of 50 to 60 CPG companies to really hear what they're doing, what changes they're making as a result of COVID-19 in the supply chain, just everything. And again, the theme that came out for me were two very important things. Number one is everybody's working together. And I'm talking about different trade groups, different NGOs, USDA, a lot of the investment companies, a lot of the bankers, as well as farmers and ranchers. The scary thing that came out for me is that because of climate change, we are going to see more and more pandemics. There's no question in a lot of these scientific minds that are far smarter than I am, that talked a lot more about what's going on as a result of climate change, that we are going to be facing with this. So we better step up. And also, last year at the first Honor of the Harvest, we gave challenge coins that look like this to people that take the challenge about the climate, about working together in farmers. And I was very honored this year to be one of the people to be able to bestow, these challenge coins to a lot of people. So anybody who wants to get involved in changing the world for the better, reach out to me, Phil at supermarketguru.com. We'll get you involved. We'll get you a challenge coin. And with that, Jen, what about Trader Joe's? John talked a bit about bananas at Trader Joe's, but they're doing a lot more.
Yeah, Trader Joe's always does a good job of, they've got such a loyal fan base, and with these products that they have just for seasonal products or, limited editions, and it really, drives traffic. So kind of an interesting thing that happened this year, like the way that Christmas keeps coming earlier and earlier, and Halloween keeps coming earlier and earlier. In the second week of August, Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks debuted their, pumpkin spice latte drinks. It's like now we're starting fall and in the middle of summer.
Right after 4th of July, it's now time for pumpkin.
Right. So Trader Joe's most recent podcast revealed all of the, a slew in every category, every department of new pumpkin spice products that are launching this month. And then I spoke with Harris Diamond of One World Sync to get his take on this. And he was saying, Trader Joe's hasn't gotten into the online game the way, all of its competitors have, and they really are relying on in-store traffic. And so this is probably a way to get more people in the store. And I haven't been to Trader Joe's in so long, because every time I drive by, the line is wrapped around the building. So it seems to be the strategy is working. They're getting people in the stores.
Well, the strategy is working, but you bring up a really interesting point. Here in Southern California, they are on Instacart, so I can order from there. I have not. But we really haven't seen much from Trader Joe's as it relates to online. Unlike their, relative company, I don't want to say sister company because they don't talk to each other, but Aldi has really pushed a lot to do click and collect, and they're moving that. And I'm just wondering if anybody has any insights about why Trader Joe's, hasn't been more aggressive as we look at online.
They've said in their podcast in April, they said, this is not an area that we even have plans to focus on. They're focused on the in-store experience and, their private label and their interesting products. And they don't seem to see the need for that.
But as we talked about last week, I mean, are we now creating a grocery retail environment that frankly is pushing people out of the store, not in the store. And especially if you look a lot at Trader Joe's, they're small stores. You can't really save distance in the stores. They're down to 30-40% capacity. I just think that long term, and I heard what you said, Jen, but I think that long term, if Trader Joe's doesn't really embrace online a little bit more, that they're going to be left out. John, what do you think?
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, Jen put it well. They said we're not interested in this. It's not cost effective for them, and it eats away at their greatest strength, which is that customers love going to their stores, and that's nothing to trifle with, at least lightly, especially if you're going to end up losing a lot of money pursuing it and impacting traffic to your stores. So this question of whether the grocers would deleverage themselves by getting into online is sort of a debate that most of them have decided we have to do this and we have to be where the growth is. But just last week, the grocery outlet CEO Eric Lempert was talking about the same thing.
Yep.
What he said was, guess what? Online, you can't create this sense of excitement. We haven't figured it out yet, how to create this sense of excitement that you get by coming to the store and seeing things that are only there for a short period of time. That's also a challenge,
Yes,
to kind of feed that new feed into the thing every week. That said, they said to their operators, hey, we're going to listen to your ideas, and some of the ambitious ones are trying to pursue things like curbside and so forth. So we'll see what happens. There's also long chatter about a Trader Joe's, not all the sort of north and south working together, which would sort of possibly bring Trader Joe's into a kind of a more efficient, more powerful financial organization that who knows down the road might support something like that. But nothing currently.
I still sorry, Kat.
No, I was just going to say, I was talking to the CEO of Rosie, Nick, and now his last name is escaping me. But I chatted with him yesterday, so the story will be coming later in the week. But his take on it is that shopping patterns have been irrevocably changed. And we're not going to go back to the way we used to shop. But he sees an opportunity, and his take is in the next 12 to 18 months, this is really a call for grocers to make the changes that have kind of been percolating under the surface, that we really do need to change how we approach the grocery experience. And that is in store as well as online. And, he's like, his take was just, it's got to be an experience is what it has to be.
Absolutely. I just want to go to our Facebook page and take a comment. Dave Foreman is saying, thoughts on regenerative organic movement and certification. So Dave, we're not going to talk about that here, but listen to our podcast, our webcast called Farm Food Facts. You could look at it on USFRA's Facebook page. We talk a lot about regenerative organic movement right there. So just want to answer that. And again, type in your questions. We'll take them throughout the session. And let's get back to John. What are some more of the earnings that are coming out? Everything that I'm seeing, we saw this huge spike, no question, during the pandemic, hoarding and everything else. Now it's settling down. As it settles down, are you seeing anything that's making you nervous?
Yeah, well, no, and that's sort of the news in itself. Yeah, there was a lot of attention that paid to the fact that grocery sales growth moderated a little bit from the first initial spikes of the pandemic, but of course they did. Nobody can use that toilet paper, right? And I think that, look, Kroger said their second quarter same-store sales, they were the most recent company to report through August 15th, 14.6% non-fuel comps. Like in any other time in the world, that would be unbelievable numbers.
Yep.
And only because our expectations have been so knocked out that it looks not so good, and the market's not really rewarding them and everything else. But guess what? I mean, they said their comps are still 10%, and again, the things that are happening: slow rebound from restaurants, slow return to work. We can't get our kid into school yet because they keep delaying the beginnings to here. That's lunch and breakfast home. Supermarket. That's going to continue, double digits. And, so what I was able to do was kind of look at the same store sales, and you see, generally it declines based on when they were, their closing date. But hat tip to Wise Markets of all companies that turned the largest comp in the second quarter of any of them. I think something like 26.5 excluding fuel.
Yeah, good operator. Hey, Brett, I want to take your take on what Jen was talking about before, pumpkin spice. It's fall. Do C-stores care about pumpkin spice? Do they care about, changing up a fall menu? Or is it, pretty much the same 12 months a year?
These stores for sure care about that, Phil. Convenience stores are, as they try to ramp up their food service offerings and build their brands around food service, seasonal LTOs are pretty notable in this space. So, speaking of pumpkin, a few chains are starting to. What are you laughing at?
No, I am
He
so
doesn't like
over
pumpkin spice.
I love pumpkin pie. I love pumpkin pie.
I personally am not a huge pumpkin person either. I don't believe in the pumpkin hype, but most people love it. So
I know.
But that said, there are some C stores that are already starting to do this. Cumberland Farms the other day just relaunched an entire fall themed menu, mostly sugary stuff. So they got like sugar coated apple cider donuts, pumpkin muffins, pumpkin filled hot pretzels, you name it, and then even
wait. Pumpkin filled hot pretzels.
You bet. Pumpkin filled hot pretzels.
I can only think, I'm trying to remember his name. The guy that owns Super Pretzel. Brilliant guy. His name just eludes me, and so on, who really made that whole soft pretzel business, in at least the frozen world, and also in C stores, hot and so on. This has got to be one of his ideas.
Yeah, I don't really know who you're talking about, but I wouldn't doubt you on that.
I'm gonna Google it while you're talking. Keep on going.
But then, so Cumberland Farms has been doing that, and then just the other day, Quick Trip out in Tulsa, Oklahoma, they also launched pumpkin stuffed hot pretzels. That must be a trend now. They have pumpkin quick shakes, which is like their brand of milkshakes. Pumpkin frappuccinos, hot pumpkin lattes, iced pumpkin lattes, pumpkin cold brew coffee. So they're really diving in onto the pumpkin theme. But fall LTOs, it's a thing in the convenience space for sure.
Yeah, it's Jerry Schreiber. I just Googled J&J Snack Foods, who really changed that whole business. I'm trying to look to see whether or not they have anything about pumpkin spice things.
You'd like this too, Phil, is that I think about a month ago, we got in our office, we didn't get samples, thank goodness, but it's now pumpkin spice hard seltzers. So if you can't get it through your lattes, you can get your hard seltzers now too.
So I think going back, Brett, to C stores, and I've seen a lot of the super pretzels, and Jerry is a really interesting story, and we'll get him on as a guest. So Jerry in Philadelphia was actually working in a waterbed store, and the waterbed store was not doing very well. He walked down the block. Big deal in Philadelphia with soft pretzels. He winds up buying this small company for next to nothing, and Jerry is basically an engineer. So his claim to fame, even before the frozen super pretzels that we see in supermarkets, was building that glass case that had that heat lamp in it that would then rotate and cook the pretzels for him. But brilliant guy, nice guy, deserves all the success that he has. I think his daughter's now running the company. But that's just a little commercial for J&J Foods. Nice. Kat, let me go back to you. On the employee side, we keep on hearing a lot. Jen obviously is very tight with UFCW, what's going on. But what's going on in some of the other retailers as it relates to employee retention, hazard pay, things like that?
Yeah, so, we saw, I think it started maybe back in May, June, some of the larger retailers started eliminating their hero pay, their hourly bonus that they were paying to workers. Other retailers started bucking that trend. I know Fairway out of Iowa was one of them who recently announced that they were extending it. And now Brookshire's Grocery also announced that it was extending its hero pay until November 6th at the latest or earliest. So that's a $1 an hour extra that their employees are going to continue to get paid until November 6th. And then in addition, they also were recently named as a great place to work. They were certified through Great Place to Work. And that all is done through validating employee experience. So it's the employees who are the ones who are saying this is a great place to work. This isn't, kind of the higher up saying, hey, we have a great operation.
Yeah.
It's really the employees saying we love where we work and, they're taking care of us.
Do we think, and this is a question for everybody, whether it's C-store or whether it's supermarket, do we think because of all the attention on grocery workers being essential workers, and we're hearing all the stories, whether it's fighting about masks or whatever else, are we going to see in months to come that the salaries or hourly wages at supermarkets are going to rise to really not only reward those people who are in stores under really difficult conditions now, but to try to just up the game to make it a career versus just, a high turnover job? John, what do you think about that?
Well, I kind of, let's hope so. Let's hope that the coronavirus and the struggles we've gone through as a nation this year, help to remind people that, teachers and retail workers and, even police officers are generally, probably aren't getting paid enough in the real world out there. And I don't want to compare all of them, but those are three areas. Look, the UFCW has been doing this fight for 15 thing for a long time. It is a labor cycles tend to move pretty slowly, and so something they're talking about 4 years down the road, maybe that comes to fruition. We've been seeing it, and it had kind of been peaking a little bit with the low unemployment that we had coming into the crisis. Now the retailers, it's easier to find workers, and maybe that is something, if anything, that kind of pulls back the thing. But I really feel like the national conversation about this is loud enough now that it's sort of inevitable. It's a question of how soon.
Jen, you're the fly on the wall for us at UFCW. What are you hearing from them?
Just, regular communication with them, but that they are just continuing this fight and they're not giving up until they get what they want. And, it's interesting. I just did a story on Wegmans push in North Carolina. And, one of the things that might move the needle on what labor is paid in grocery is competition for employees. So North Carolina is just blowing up with, Publix, Lidl, Aldi, the fresh market space, there are new Harris Teeter stores. And Wegmans a year ago opened in Raleigh. In July, they opened in West Cary, North Carolina. They've announced 4 more stores, 2 of which will be opened in 2021 in Chapel Hill and Wake Forest, and then a store in Holly Springs and Cary, North Carolina, to be determined. But they're already employing, just with the 2 stores, 900 people in North Carolina. They're going to hire an additional 400 for each new store that they open. And with all of this building going on there of new grocery stores, where are they going to get? They're going to have to pay them more to get all of these people in the stores.
Yeah, but also let's not forget in the case of both Danny and Colleen Wegman, one of their secret weapons are their employees. They pay them well, they train them, they invest in them. They've got people who have worked for the chain for many decades. It's a very different experience. So I think, to answer your question, basically what they're going to do is they're going to steal them away from everybody else. I think Wegmans will get the cream of the crop, because if I had a choice of working at a Wegmans or XYZ supermarket chain, I would pick Wegmans, no question about it. I mean, you've got a retailer that have customers waiting in line at store openings for hours just to get in there. They've got this cult following, again, both from customers and from employees and wannabe employees. I think Danny and Colleen won't have any problem. Their competitors, I think they're the ones that are going to have to pay more and really get up to speed. But Danny has said to me a number of times, it's all about the teamwork. It's all about training, and they invest in training and they care about their employees. I've been, in stores with Danny. He knows everybody's name, from the bagger to, the store manager and everybody in between. And this family really cares about the grocery industry and about their consumers and their employees. So, I always, whenever I talk to Danny, I say, hey, get one here in Santa Monica. And he just laughs, but maybe one day, maybe one day. So Jen,
If I
why don't
could
you
add
wrap
like
us?
2 things to that real quick before Jen wraps it with
Yeah,
some
of
good
course.
news. One, I think, any kind of, salary increase, among the big retailers will probably also accompany a lot of the automation and efficiency
Yes.
things that will sort of allow that. They do realize that better paid workers make a better experience in the store. I think everybody knows that. The other thing is that we have to understand is that a certain percentage of the workforce in grocery, are not there for a career. They're there to make extra money, to pay for their school books or, do whatever they need to do to help their families or themselves. And, that is part of the mix.
I just want to add,
Excellent
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
I just want to add really quick before we jump into Jen's good news. So in the C-store industry, it's the same boat. I was just working on the cover story for our October issue on the economy and how it's really impacting C-store hiring in particular. And we actually put out a survey to C-store operators asking what they have done regarding compensation plans for their employees and how they're approaching these. And nearly all respondents said that they've increased hourly pay for their frontline staff an average of $2 an hour. A lot of them are giving referral bonuses of $500 or more. Out in Savannah, Georgia, Parker's, they're a chain of a couple hundred stores. They're increasing their overtime an extra $15 an hour. They're offering those big referral bonuses as well. They're giving just like random weekly bonuses of $75 to $100 an hour. So this is massive in the C-store industry too. I mean, supermarkets and C-store industry, their labor pool is not that different. They're kind of,
Right.
in a way, looking at the same people here. So it goes both ways.
Well, that's for me, that's good news, because if we can get everybody up to whether it's $15 an hour or even higher, it's a better living wage. Everybody does better and everybody wins. But Jen, you're in charge of good news. So what's the real good news?
Well, it's more from Wegmans. Not only do they treat their employees well, but they also give back to their communities. And every year they donate like 18.5 million pounds of food to various food banks. And when the pandemic hit, realizing that their typical fundraisers were not going to be able to work this year, they just flat out donated 4 million to like 40 something food banks that they work with in all of the areas where they're located. And then they did something else that was really cool in Rochester, obviously their hometown. They donated 6 culinary employees to donate their time to food banks to help put meals together for at-risk youth. And they've donated like 2,800 hours and helped to make 500,000 meals for the youth in Rochester who need food.
Yeah, no, that's great. And in fact, I know that Wegmans is working very closely. I think it's Rochester General Hospital up there. I think that's the name. I might be getting it wrong. That they're putting together programs for at-risk youth or food insecure youth.
Mhm.
So this is, a perfect extension of that program. That's great company, great things that they do. Next career, I'm going to work for Wegmans. Hopefully, they'll start me at at least assistant manager level, not as bag boy. But hey, I'll even be a bag boy at Wegmans. I don't have any issues with that. So thanks all for joining us today. Really appreciate it. Again, join us. Today's Thursday, so have a great weekend. Join us next Tuesday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Our archives are on Winsight Grocery Business, CSP, Restaurant Business, SupermarketGuru.com. Wear a mask, be safe, and have a great weekend.